Greetings. Today we're going to work on a little fun project. Actually, it's today and yesterday and a month ago, and I've been working on these little fairy wands about a month because I first started them for a little gathering we were having. I gave them out as little tokens before we had a little fairy activity in the park, very special event. But I really wanted them because I'll show you what I'm going to be doing with them in a video coming up, but as we get closer to Beltane. Because Beltane is a really good time to talk about fairies, and that's what these are for. These are for finding fairies. You're going to see a bunch of different ones that I have been making. These are things that I want to show you how to make them so you can make them yourself, or I'm going to have some of them up on my website, and there's going to be plenty of time for you to come and purchase one if you wish before Beltane. Get it in time for Beltane. But they're all different. Everyone is different. Here's another one that I did. This one has an actual eye on it. But they're usually embellished. I paint them and then I embellish them. But what I wanted to show you was they all have some kind of a hole in them, or they have some kind of a window in them for spying, for finding fairies. Usually it would be turned this way, so the good side is to me. the part that's caved in, then the concave part, that would be to my eye. But this is not the pretty side. I wanted you to see the pretty side. But anyway, these are made very simply from wooden spoons, and I use really inexpensive spoons. And I'm going to show you coming up in this video how I do it. I'm a little out of order, so please bear with me. I wanted you to see the ones I had made before I had to take them and give them away. So, but then I do have at the end of the video, you'll see me actually making the different steps that I use in making the wands. I just want to talk to you for a few minutes about fairies before we go. There's so much information about fairies. This is the perfect time to learn about fairies. I don't know if you have experience with fairies or not. I have a lot of personal experience with fairies. I have fairies that I know that are living in my yard. Excuse me. Boy, is it dry in here. It's a hot day today. It's about 80 degrees and it's kind of very dry. They're living in my yard, and how do I know they're living in my yard? Because over the years things go missing. Things go missing, and it's not like fairies steal from me necessarily. A lot of times fairies like to play little games, and something, especially with shiny things, or you know, something catches their eye for some reason and they go missing. And I have talked in the past on, if you've seen some of my earlier videos on spell work, I've done in the past some spells to locate things, and I have done using the fairies to help me, that live in my yard, to help me locate missed items. And I've had some success with that. It's really important that you don't insult the fairies, though. You don't want to insult them in any way, accuse them of stealing. You never demand they bring things back to you. You have to be very respectful of the fairies. And things happen in their time, not yours, just so you remember that. I want to just talk to you a little bit about how you know that you might have fairies. I'm going to talk to you first, just a few real short minutes, about different ways you can attract fairies into your space if you don't have them. And I'm talking about your outdoor space. I think you know that. You see things often. Little people make little houses for them and stuff out of flower pots. They really do like that. They really like to have a little place where they can be. They are, like I said, attracted to shiny things. So sometimes you can leave dimes, really shiny dimes or something like that, around in your garden in different places for them that might attract them to those places. Because they sometimes, people say that they like to look at themselves in the shiny dimes. Anything that's shiny that they can see themselves in. They love sweet smelling things like flowers. They love places that they can hide, like in grasses. If you have a perfectly groomed garden with everything completely trimmed and everything completely mowed, and you're not going to get fairies in your yard. You're just not going to. They like places that are a little bit, as my friend Jackie would say, messy, sexy. A little bit, you know, the high grass and the places where they can hide, leaves, you know, little leaves and and things like that. And trees, they love old trees, and trees with lots of leaves on them, you know, that they can hide in there. Where there are going to be lots of bugs. They're friends with bugs. You can leave things out to try to attract them. You can leave, like I said about the dimes, or sweet smelling plants, sweet smelling flowers, or it's something. If you attract butterflies or ladybugs to your garden, they really like those things. Butterflies you can attract with sugar water, little dishes of sugar water. You know, ladybugs you can even go to the gardening center and purchase them because they're really good. They'll eat your aphids off of your plants. But butterflies, but they won't stay. If they don't want to stay, they're just going to fly away. So it's better to attract them naturally through planting plants that they really like to have. Not using pesticides. They're not going to come if you have pesticides in your garden. It's not going to happen. Those are toxins, and they're not going to want to come anywhere near toxins. Feathers, they love the feathers, the chicken feathers. I often will put, you know, little chicken feathers around for them. Glitter, sometimes glitter, and moonlight will be reflected in the glitter, especially if it's going to be a full moon. You might want to put a little bit of glitter around in where you wanted to attract them to. They love things like wind chimes or any kind of music outside, those kind of things. You can leave little snacks for them, like it's called fairy cake, I believe they call it. It's actually just breadcrumbs with sprinkles on it. Breadcrumbs and sprinkles. And they really like that. So you can do that. Okay. Where would you look for fairies? Like we already talked about, like in places, lots of trees with lots of leaves in there, or knots in wood. I posted some pictures before where I've showed you like little doors, and I love looking at old trees and finding little doors. Sometimes you can see little doors in the tree trunk itself, but in the furrows of wood you will see things, maybe on the backs of insects. Some people say they ride around on insects. When would you find them? Like we already said, Beltane, or a lot of the Sabbaths, but particularly a Midsummer's Eve, any starry night, they're out. What might you see? Oh, first of all, the reason I'm making the wands with the holes, because if you're looking out and you're trying to find fairies, and you're looking at a big picture, you're not going to see. You need to narrow your view. You need to narrow your view. And so by looking through this very small window, you're looking a little bit at a time. I'll turn around so it's pretty. You're looking a little bit of a time at a time. Little bit of time. It's like using you just see a little bit of time. Like if you're using binoculars, how you just go slowly and scan the area. And you might see. But it's maybe not very likely that you're going to directly see through the window. It's kind of fun to try. But you're going to maybe see them without looking through here to see them too. How do you know they're around? You might see like a flicker of light or a glint of light, especially like reflecting from a pool in an unusual way, or light that's not like, there's no explanation for the light, it's just a bit of light. Not like a lightning bug, but not unlike that. You know how you see a lightning bug all of a sudden? Well, that has an explanation, but if it's not a lightning bug, what is it? Okay. Any unexplained movement on the corner of your eye sometimes is fairies. Sometimes you hear music, like the wind. You think you hear tinkling or a little bit of flute or something in the wind, just for a second, and then it's gone, and then it's gone. You might see a fairy circle, a circle of tadpoles. Well, that'd be funny. Of toadstools. Tadpoles, that's really funny. Toadstools in your yard. Mushrooms or toadstools. You might see a circle of flowers. If you do see what you suspect might be a fairy ring, do not enter without asking for permission, and do not take anything from that circle. That's very important. You might smell overwhelming smell of violets or lilacs or something sweet or something like that, and there's none of those plants around. You don't see the plant. You just, for a brief moment, you smell this really sweet smell. Maybe you're just out there, all of a sudden you're walking or you're sitting and you have this urge to laugh and nobody said anything. There's nothing funny. It's just a real brief feeling of joy almost. Sometimes that could be from a fairy. Unexplained deviation in the air, a breeze, like you might see just a little whirlwind making the leaves go or something like that, and there's no breeze anywhere else. Sometimes that's a fairy. Or some people have said that they see a flower that is bloomed, and all of a sudden they see this bloom of a flower that they didn't even know there was a flower there a minute ago. They swear there was no flower. All at once it's bloomed. Okay. Animals are very sensitive. Like animals are sensitive to spirits, they're also sensitive to fairies. So if your animals are being a little odd, acting a little odd, their behavior's a little odd, you might think there's fairies nearby. Like I said, things can go missing, things particularly like milk and beer for some reason, or candies, sweet things disappearing. We have an outdoor kitchen and we've had that happen. Sometimes it's a raccoon, but a raccoon would not take a bottle of beer away from the refrigerator out in the outdoor kitchen. So we're not exactly sure what that is. Sometimes you're missing jewelry or shining objects, but very often they're put back, but they're not maybe put back in the same place. That's where they went missing from. And that's what I said, the fairies like to play games with that. So, you know, don't be alarmed if that happens, and do not, again, be accusatory. We are never accusatory. We do not want to get in with, you know, fairies are friendly, but, you know, they can be insulted like everybody else. You suddenly may feel a sudden warmth on your skin, or you may suddenly feel that something's watching you from the wood. You have eyes on you, and you might have eyes on you. It's just a little fun thing that I thought would be fun to do for Beltane, an activity you might want to do with your friends or your children. It's kind of fun to set up and embellish these any way you want, paint them any way you want. And stay tuned, I'm going to show you what I did, and then of course you can do whatever you do. And if you do not, you'd like to have one or two and you don't want to make them, they'll be available on my website. I'll be posting them probably within a day or two up on my website. So, thank you for watching and stay tuned. I wanted to show you the ones that I have done so far. These are the ones that I'm going to be taking out the door with me tonight. So you sort of caught me in my apron. I've been doing a lot of cooking, so forgive my appearance and my blank wall. When I come back, I'm going to start on the remodeling. But anyway, I want to show you some of the ones that I did. I did them rather simply. I didn't want to spend too much time on any of them. It was a good opportunity for me to use up some of my leftover paint and some beads that I had, and you know, odds and ends. I have some great ideas for some other ones that I'm going to be doing. Probably next week I'm going to be doing some more, because there's going to be lots of opportunities for me to use these. But these are going to go to other people. Anyway, this first one that I have is, it's working like this. I can look through it this way. And to me, it would be a waxing crescent. And I have gold paint on the top. I don't know if you can see it, but it's really nice and shiny and sparkly, and silver underneath. And then the handle is all done in purples and blues and browns, a brown wash, purple, and, you know, it just, the different parts of the wood accept the color in a different way. And I just went crazy and did all the handles with just the wash. Not any particular color, but you could do, you know, however you want. But what I want to tell you about this one is we have a hole drill here, and I have here the little beads going through our rainbow moonstone. And rainbow moonstone is really good to clear the mind and connect you to the energies of the fairies or the fae. I have a little bit of notes I didn't want to forget. The fairies are attracted to auras that give off warmth, and the rainbow moonstone helps to do that. I also have a rose quartz. Fairies love pink stones, especially those that open your heart for both giving and receiving love. Okay, so that's what this is about. I also have one that would be, to me, a waning crescent. A waning crescent. Okay? Doesn't matter, but it's just yellow at the top, white, and then a wash of blue, And there's a little bit of gold, or is that silver? A little bit of silver in the blue. I don't think you can see it on the video, but in the blue, over the blue is a little bit of silver paint. You can see it maybe around the crescent if it's glittery. But it's beautiful. And then I have a little gem that I just you know, a little a little stone I just glued on there, just a little glass bead. And I thought that was lovely because you can look through and it can look back at you at the same time. So this would be really good for communication between you and the fairies. Okay, another one I have talking about eyes. I do an eye. I just carved out the hole for the eye, and I would look through it this way. I'd probably look through it this way, peering through the eye. And I also have on the handle, this is another one with a blue wash, and this one has love beads. I have some love beads glued on at the top of the handle, which is pretty self-explanatory. But I really like the eye. I like the eye so much. This way. When I turn it around for me to use, you can't see the design. Okay, and again, I did silver paint on that one too. Okay, then I have some that are just have holes in them. This one has bells, little tiny bells, and these are old bells that I had from an old belt that I had when I was in college. I took the belt apart, and the same kind of bells that I have on my little tarot pouch. But I love the bells. Fairies love bells too. Fairies love any kind of wind instrument that would make noise with the wind, like wind chimes or bells, little bells, or like a flute, something like that. They really like that. Especially they like them when they're rung over or near water, like a pond or a lake or something like that. When they hear the bells near water, they're supposed to dance. The fairies are supposed to dance, and that is a sign. That's a good time to see them because they're very, very active and they're very involved in what they're doing. So they're not hiding so easily. Okay. What else do I have? The rest of them. Oh no, not this one. This one I did not. This one is simply. It's purple. It has a purple and blue, brown wash to it. I don't know if you can see the handle. I'm going to tell you in a minute how I constructed them as soon as I'm sort of doing this backwards. But anyway, kind of try to give it a little bit of an aged look. Anyway, I did a single hole to peer through. And some jute, and I did this is one of my witch's rune signs. I don't know if you can see the orange. That's the sun. Oh no, it's not the sun. It's the star. It's the star. The witch's rune. And it's the wishing rune. So it's good to attract whatever it is you desire. And in this case, we desire to see fairies, to communicate with the fairies. Okay. Okay, and the rest of them, yes, the rest of them I did basic, I glued a cabochon. I don't know how you say it. Cabochon, I think. It's a French word. Into the hole. Into the hole. And it's really cool. I know you can't tell, but if I were to look, I can even come back a little bit. And of course, I see my reflection, but I also see other things behind me. And it's good. It's almost like scrying. You look in there in this glass bead, and you can, there's sometimes bubbles in there or whatever, and it's really good for scrying. It's, so, if you, oh dear, excuse me. It's good for maybe giving you a window to see the fairies. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this in my other part of my video, but of course we can just peer through a hole. We don't need a window, but a small hole is really good because it really isolates when you're looking around and you're looking with just in a small area. It's easier to spot small things that are hiding. When I'm looking this way, I'm looking at the big picture. This way I'm looking at individual things. Okay, so I also just put another symbol on there. And some paint. This is yellow. It's just pretty. But what I want to tell you is all of these are different painted. I just want to just hold them up. This is purples and blues and orange with a green stone. All of these, the first thing I did, I don't know if you can see, some of them you might be able to see better, is I carved, you know, these are the spoons that you get, like, they're the cheapest spoons you can buy, wooden spoons. These came in a set, 4 sizes of spoons, wood. They're not, what can I think? What was I going to say? Oh, I know. They're not bamboo. They're wood, but they're not bamboo. They're just some kind of really soft wood, maybe a pine or whatever. I'm not sure. But anyway, it makes them easy to carve. So I use just basic carving tools or almost a pen knife kind of a thing to, soften the edges. You know, the sharp edges, I sort of flatten that with my knife, is what I'm trying to say. And took some nicks here and there out of the wood and, you know, carved some of it away on some of them. I don't know, you might be able to see this one. The one side, this side is sort of out of round. I carved that side down. See, I did flatten that side. And it's just these lovely little stones and a nice clear cabochon. Here I put a little token on. Somebody had given me this token, and with the four-leaf clover and a key, which I thought would be wonderful to try to unlock the door to the fairy world. And of course, I just used jute I just put some jute on there and let it travel up the stem, up the handle. Okay. Here's another with a little charm on it. Here we get the blues and purples, and this is ribbon. I did the same thing, but with ribbon. And again, this one has gold shimmers to it. I give it a little bit of a wash with gold paint, and a lovely blue stone with a purple. It's just so pretty. They really, the film doesn't, I don't think, serve them justice. And here we have again with some beads. And this is a pink and purpley thing with, again, the jute handle. And some old purple beads that I have just laying around. But anyway, what I wanted to say is, the wood is soft enough that you can sort of carve bits of it out or flatten, and then lots of sanding, lots and lots of sanding. The hardest part for me was learning how to do the hole for the stone, so the stone would fit. Because you really want to get a good fit. You want to get a good fit in the hole. So I put the stone on the spoon, and I wish I could show you how I did it. I'm sorry, I didn't realize this video is not that great. Maybe I can show you, maybe I'll come when I do the other part of the video. Maybe I can show you how I was actually carving them. That will help. But I was cooking at the same time that I was doing this. I'm cooking for an event tomorrow. That's why I'm apron on. I have to do lunch for 50 people. So my kitchen's been doing dual purpose things. But anyway, I basically, yes, I will show you. I will show you in the video. But I did and this probably won't make sense because I'm going to do the video out of order. Sorry. Same information, just jumbled up. Anyway, I trace the stone around the spool, and then when I carved with my knife, then I took a drill and just went down, made a small hole, pilot hole, like maybe half inch or 3/8 or whatever. And then when I took my knife and chiseled out really slowly, getting down and chiseling, and sanding until the stone would fit snugly. And this is one of my worst ones. You can see on the back that the hole wasn't even round on the back. But I was able to hold that in and then fill that in with glue. I'll show you the glue too that I used. And when it dried, you can't really tell because the glue is, just shiny like the stone, so you don't really see it. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to show you before these go out the door, and when I edit this together, I will show how I actually did the carving. Maybe that'll help. Okay. Thanks for watching. You're so patient with me. I wanted to show you what I use for the wands. This is how I buy them. I think we got these at perhaps Bed Bath & Beyond or something like that. You see they come in a package. This package, whole package, was really inexpensive. And there are 4 spoons in here. It says wooden spoons. One is 10-inch, one is 12-inch, and one is 14-inch. I remove it really carefully because I like to use the little bags. Right when I said I remove it carefully, I kind of didn't, but I want to pull the net bag off of the staple. There we go. Because I use the net bags in my garden. This is what I hold. This is what we put around cantaloupes and melons and big squashes and things when they're hanging them to give them support. They expand with the vegetable or the fruit, whatever it is. So they're really cool. So I will put that aside for recycling. Use that again. And here are the spoons we get. We say we have 1, what I say, 14, 2 12s, and 1 10. Not important, but it just gives you a little variety. And it's cheap plastic. They're made kind of cheaply, which is what I like about them. They're very lightweight. The wood is light, but some of them are much thicker than others in places. So the idea is I'm going to be using these. I want them to kind of give the impression that they are either very worn or they are, you know, older than they are, or they're, you know, maybe even hand carved. If you do a good job, you can make it even look hand carved. I can't really make it look hand carved. But then I have all of these. Well, this is marbles, but I have a lot of these little cabochons in here, different sizes, you know, that I can use. I like these a lot. These are meant to be used in plants, I think. I like these because these are actually purple, but they're so you know, just faint that they hardly appear purple. They almost appear clear. But here's a clear one. I don't know if you can see the difference, but there's a big difference. A little bit of a difference between them. But anyway, each hole, as you can see, these are not, look, if I put them together, they're not near shaped the same. They're not the same size at all. So you really have to do, the trick is you have to match up one that you want to do with the spoon. You need to pick it ahead of time. And boy, I sure hope you can see this. And then I'm going to lay this on the spoon. However I want it, place it where I want it. And hold it tight, so to hold it in place. And I just put a brief pencil, I just put a light pencil mark around it. And that gives me a general idea where I'm going to put. I mark it on the bottom so I know which one goes with which stone. Okay, so I just mark it with a pencil mark. Give myself a place, and then they are drilled. Put these aside. There's a pilot hole that is drilled. You know, your original hole. Not through the whole way, but just, you know, to take out a lot, as much as I can take out of the hole with the drill, and then I will go back and I will then they have to be done by hand. They can't, you know, you can't do the whole thing with a drill. I guess you could, but not really well, because you have to keep drilling this out. This is meant for this stone. I have to keep drilling this out until keep carving it out until my stone will fit right down in that hole. So it's not going to be round. It's a little bit at a time. It's a good bit of work. These are the tools that I'm going to be using to carving. I have a set of carving tools here. Really cheap carving tools. I think I got these at Michael's. These are kind of good for holes. This one particularly is kind of good. I use that one a lot. This one I use a lot. But what I really like is I got this at the Home Depot. This is just a knife with, it holds a single blade there, and this is really good. It takes a little while to get the hang of it when you're carving it, but this is good for going along these sides. And I have started here. I don't know that you can see it. I don't think you can. But I've started just taking some chunks like that out of the sides. Okay, I just take some off the side. And I'm going towards my thumb, which you should not do, but that's just the way I do that with a paring knife too when I cook. It freaks people out. But I don't want to have, see, this is perfectly round, and I really don't want the handle of the spoon to be perfectly round. I'd rather it to be almost crooked if I can make it almost crooked. So ideally we should be carving away from us like this. And it's possible to do that in a way, but you have to just practice at it to get the blade positioned. This is actually safer. Actually positioned in such a way that it really takes enough of the wood off. And because these are cheaply made, it's not, I don't know what kind of wood they use, but some of them are really easy to carve, some are more difficult to carve. Okay, so anyway, I just keep going around and doing this. And I'll even maybe break it to make a hole there. I mean, not a hole, but like a dent. And it also, the reason, it's not just the way they look. Don't get me wrong, I do like things that look old. That's kind of my jam, but the feel of it, I don't know how to explain it, but the feel of a perfectly round, perfectly smooth, perfectly symmetrical spoon in your hand feels different than, to me, it feels more organic if it's a little bit crooked, if it's a little bit, you know. And the same with the painting. I don't want, you can just paint these beautifully pristine paint, but I want to, wait, if I can, just give me 1 second here. I wanted to show you the spoons that I use for cooking. You know, people buy me spoons like this all the time. These kind of spoons, not these cheap ones, but they buy me a really nice spoon that looks really beautiful because they feel sorry for me because they see me. After a while, they turn into something like this. You know, it's stained. It's a little bit burnt. I'll have a burnt place up at the top. You know, it's just. The handle wears down a little bit. Okay, sometimes it gets a little bit rough. But what it ultimately turns into is something like this. Now this is a big difference between that and this. If you want to see. This is a person who has a lot of nice new utensils. It has a spoon like this in their kitchen. This is somebody who's been cooking a long time and is probably a really good cook. And actually, I use this spoon for when I make special things, especially this is my soup spoon when I'm making soups. It just has so much already flavor in the wood, I think is what it is. I don't know what it is. But you can see maybe it's burned here. It's darkened here on the top. and here on the side. And also, it's really out of round. It's really, right here, it's really worn down on this side from all the years of stirring, scraping the bottom of the pot. This side has kind of worn down. This is a kitchen witch's spoon. This is a person who cooks a lot. This is what their spoon actually looks like. And it feels different in the hand than something like this. It feels different in the hand. It feels to me more magical. Some people are appalled by this. They think, oh my God, it doesn't look sanitary. Well, I can tell you this, it tastes sanitary. When you cook when you taste my soup or my stews, you know you're eating something pretty special. Okay? So that's what I'm kind of doing. That is part of the reason behind you know, transforming these handles a little bit, altering the perfect handle just a little bit. Now, I will tell you, and I told you before, this is not my idea. I got this off of the internet. I can't think of the woman's name. She doesn't sell the spoons, she just makes the spoons, but she is very involved in fairy things for fairies. I don't know what she makes, something she does for fairies. This is just something she did as a lark, I think. I don't think she does this. I don't think she's done it again. If she has, I can't find evidence of it. She did it one time years ago. And I liked it, and she's the one that gave the idea to carve these spoons. And she wanted it because she wanted it to look old. She wanted things to look old, and she was trying to get it to look old even with the way she was painting them. And she even took it a little further than I did. She didn't antique it, actually, but she took it and poured a dark wash over her paint, you know, to give it a little more. As you can see, my spoon here in my kitchen is darker, too, as it ages. So it was her idea, too. But for me, it is just a much more... It just feels organic to me, and that's what I'm looking for. You know, that's the basis of all of my magic is being organic, having to do with nature and natural. And so if I can return this wood a little bit, now in my ideal world, I would be fashioning a spoon or a wand to look for fairies out of branches of a tree, limbs of a tree. But you know, I don't have those kind of trees around for me, and this is just it's just a fun project is what this is. This is really fun to do with a group of people. You know, and ideas, I don't know if you can see it. It comes out, it shows up a little better when it's painted. But I just sort of hack some bits off of the spoon. I like to particularly take it off of the end down here. You can see. I might even take a little more off of the end than I do the other parts. It's easy to get carried away. I'm on it, by the way, I'm on a this plastic tablecloth on my table, which I'll tell you, this is the bee's knees right here, you know, buying this. Came from, I think, Kmart. Not Kmart, wouldn't be Kmart. I don't know, Walmart or somewhere. Target. Pardon this saw, my husband's building the chicken coop for our new chicks. Anyway, it's just a plastic, it's meant to go camping. It's a plastic tablecloth that's twice as big as this table. I mean, as this part. But I love it for painting, for doing painting, sloppy work. I have my chickens on here when I have to tend my chickens, my little chicks. So anyway, but it's perfect for something like this. So anyway, I'm just going around and I'm going to do some just, until I feel like it's going to be the way I want it, around the edges. I'm going to do the edges first. And also, in addition to that, I'm going to take sandpaper and I'm going to use sandpaper also to smooth all those cut edges. It has to be perfectly smooth for when I go to paint it. So I'm going to break here just for a second, and then I'm going to show you how I cut out the hole. After I get the spoon itself cut the way I want it, and I'll come back and show you how I carved the hole. Okay, I have pretty much sanded smoothly. I'll go back and get a little bit more before I paint, to make sure. And I'll give it a final look before I start painting it. But I've already started carving in the middle a little bit. remember I have a pencil line, a light pencil line. I'm pretty much going to go to that pencil line, but before I get to it, I will stop. I can either use this again, and I'm just going to, and I like to just sort of put it this way, hold it under the, I guess you can't really see. And then I take the knife in that kind of a direction. Can you see? This kind of a direction. Scraping it. It seems to work better when I move it towards me. A little from the front, a little from the back. Turn it over. A little from the back. So I get close to the lines. And I pretty much, one tip that I've learned, it's easier to take it off of the sides than it is off the top and the bottom because of the way the grain goes on the wood. So I just take a little bit, I leave it a little bit from the pencil line on the sides. Then I mainly work on the top and the bottom. And as I'm working on the top and the bottom, it automatically takes from the sides as well because of the angle of my knife. So I just, I don't know if you can see that. I sure hope you can. I can't tell. I light in here. It's not good for me to see. But you see how I just ground that and go back and forth? Back and forth. You can hear it. And it's just shaving off little bits at a time. Okay. And of course I want to get it so that it's even, front and back the same. So that it's even this way, straight here. But, you know, it's going to take me a while to get to that line. So this is the part that some people don't like to do. This is the part I don't mind it at all. If I had to do a whole lot of them, I wouldn't like to do it. But, you know, any kind you make time, you put your own self, put your own efforts into your tools. You get it out in the end. You get it out in the end. Okay, so I'm just going to keep digging away. And sometimes it depends on the side of the hole, but sometimes some of these little things are carved. This is in a V shape, and sometimes you can stick it in a hole. I don't have the hole. I don't have that hole now, but some of the other ones I made, I was able to stick it in the hole and then just turn it, and here's a smaller one like that, and it cut into those holes. You just have to try and see what works. Sometimes you can go on it from this end, you know, with this kind of an action. Can you see that? With this kind of an action. It's a slow dig. It's easier than it looks when I'm doing it because I'm trying to hold this at an angle so you can see. Sometimes a straight one will work better. You know, I find if you just keep changing your tools, you'll find the one that'll actually work better for the angle that you're going on. This one seems to want to go away naturally. That's the way they build the blades. So some places it's a little difficult to go any other direction. That works. But then this one kind of works for me the best, I think. Probably because I have a big hand and it feels good in my hand to hold something kind of sizable. Okay, so I'm going to keep digging it away, and then I'll get back and show you how I paint these. I did forget to show you one trick that I like to do, is I take a pencil, and this is the rougher, this is like a, well, this is medium sandpaper. You can use rougher. The rougher, coarser sandpaper you use, the quicker it makes the job. But I just like to wrap it around a pencil, like that. And then I use it in the hole. Whoops. Try to get it as tight as you can and just hold it. And then Put it down. I'll try to do it from the back so you can see. And then I just go back and forth. I'm looking at my camera. Let's see, where should I put that? So that you can see it. I'm very close with this, okay? Anyway, I go back and forth and try to keep sanding it from time to time. I sand and sand. Check where I am with the pencil line. You see, I don't think you can see, but here I'm getting pretty close. So I want to stay away from the sides. I'm going to go on the top and bottom. And in and out through the hole. In and out. Top and bottom, switch it from top and bottom. And what I will do, this actually goes pretty fast once I get a lot close to the where it comes with, because I can go pretty fast. And then I will keep, I'm not absolutely near ready yet, but then I will keep putting it in, trying to fit again. Won't fit in yet, so I know I have to do a lot more. As we get closer to fitting in the stone, I'll show you that part. I wanted to show you, I'm very close. My hole is very close to the size of my cabochon. And when you go to put, you want to get it to try to go slip down completely into the hole. And before you decide if it's finished or not, you need to turn it, because remember, it's not perfectly round. You're not exactly sure how it might fit the best now that you've carved it by hand. When you get it to, you think that it's about close to where you want it to be, and I can feel it coming on the bottom as well. Let me see. See, I can see from the bottom that a lot of the edges are right to the, this edge is good, this edge is pretty good. It's over here on this side that I'm a little, I'm falling a little short. So I want to get this as close as I can to fitting well. It's slippery, so it's a little hard to do it. To fitting well, and then I want to I don't want it to be short of the hole. Let me turn it a little bit so I can see better. And then I'm going to just mark the bits of the hole. I think I wanted to do it this way. That are good. Are pretty good. And maybe just take off a little bit, like right in here. I'm going to put a pencil mark there. And I can see here that I need to cut, this is the part I want to cut off in here. Okay, so I'm going to work on that area particularly. And try to get it both sides, top and bottom, because it might be the inside. It might be the inside that's interfering with me getting the thing. And all the time I have to keep picking up my stone and trying to feel it in. And you can feel all of a sudden it'll just kind of slip in there. And you keep working on that. Just keep working on this part that's trying to fit. If I see a pencil line, it means it wouldn't go in there. And you see the wood just really does have a grain, if you know what I mean by grain, if you sew, you know what I mean. The one way it carves easily, and the other way it carves roughly. So while I'm doing this side, I'm carving this way, when I flip it over to the back, I need to carve this way to get a smooth cut. Kind of just something that you learn as you do it. And if you go too far, what happens if you go too far? Well, that's why I have all these other stones. If something happened and I really went too far and I couldn't make this stone work, I will search in my bag for another stone that will fit it. But that hasn't really happened to me because what happens is, I don't need the pencil really now that I'm just doing fine tuning. But what I was saying was, it doesn't really happen to me because the glue that I use to glue the cabochon into the hole kind of fills up spaces. Which I showed you in the last video. One of the ones that I had made that I didn't think fit very well, but the glue just filled it in and it really wasn't that noticeable. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to just go, and I'm not, oh there, see it's almost in. I'm going to keep turning it because it might fit another way. Might fit another way. I'm not going to glue it in now first, so it's going to be painted before it's glued in, but I'm going to get it ready to fit. And when it fits, you want to check the back, and you want the whole stone to come in to the hole. And here, again, here it's good, but here it's just a little bit short. A little bit. So another pencil mark. It's going to show me. We'll see, I'm so close, I don't have to do too much before it fits. It's a fine line. Sometimes they go in really easily. You get it, you're lucky, and it just goes right in. Other times, I have to work a little harder on it. Let's see. Now, I have different kinds of sandpaper here because sometimes this way I'm just sticking the hole's big enough I can use my whole finger inside to get it nice and smooth. I hope I'm not covering this up with my arm. But I'm getting a really nice hole, as you can see. Okay? And we're just about there. It has to go in enough that it'll sit flat in the back. Okay, well I think I've shown you enough. I'll show you when I go to glue it in how I do that. But I think you get the gist of what I'm doing now. Turning it. Almost the whole thing is in. See in the back? Whoops! Oh, and it even pushed through. When it pushes through, sometimes I can do it from the back. Get it flush. And turn it. This is so close, it's just going to take a little bit of sanding to get it down. Okay? Alright, I'll be back and show you later after I'm ready. When I'm ready to paint. I'll come back when I'm going to paint. I have my spoons painted, at least most of them painted, and I want to show you how they turned out. They're not finished. I'm going to still probably do some embellishing on the spoons with some beads or some bells or some handles, cloth handles or something. I do every one a little different as you've seen, and I just wanted to show you, I'm at the point where I wanted to glue in the ones that took the gemstone in the center, the little glass, not gemstone, the little glass cabochon in the center. I wanted to show you how I put that in. You can use any kind of glue. I think you could use tacky glue. You could use, of course, you could use hot glue. I like this. This is a, what is this? A fabric tack, a fabric glue. It's supposed to be for fabrics. It's great for fabrics, but it seems to work on a lot of other things too, and it works really well on these because it's just lightweight items. What I like about this is it gives you a little more time than something like, you know, super glue would definitely hold, but super glue dries so fast you could, you know. This one, particularly if I have some like this spoon here, the stone was fitting in loosely, so I added layers of glue to it, and I kept holding it up in the back to keep the it flat in the hole. There's a little bit of extra glue. It acts sort of like hot glue. When you're finished, you might have some strings, which will just peel right off of that. That's really simple, but it gives me a little bit of time to reposition the stone. Okay, so I will show you. So these two are drying, and then they will get embellished. And then this one, the stone is not in there at all. I just have it laid in the hole. You might be able to see that there are some gaps, a little bit of gaps that will need filling in. Again, I said when you're hand carving something like this to fit a stone that is not circular at all, it's kind of tricky. So that's why I like this glue. It helps fill those spots in, and you can do it in a couple applications. Okay, first of all, I have a mess. See what I mean? Like this, as there's strings, it just dries off. It just pulls off like, you know, hot glue does. So it cleans up really nicely when you're finished. But I'm going to put some, can you see this? I'm going to just squeeze some of it. It has this really nice nozzle on the top. And I'm just going to squeeze a nice bead around there. And it looks a little bit messy, but it's easy to clean up when we're finished. And I'm going to just let that dry a minute so the glue doesn't drip down. And then I'm going to turn it over and put some on the other side as well. As you can see, these spoons were just, they're a little different. They're a little different application than the initial painting. Not really. It's still here was one of the other ones that I did that I showed you before. I just did a really nice wash of paint, of acrylic paints. Kind of simple. I like the combination of the colors. These are a little bit more springy, I think, in color tone, a little springier. Okay, it's enough for me to turn over, and I'm just going to do a real thin, I would just do a real thin bead around the front, and that will fill in too. There's the string. It'll come off, don't worry. And I'm just going to let that sit. Kind of lean it up against so it doesn't go on the board. These boards that I have under the spoons, these spoons, I've been using these kind of boards for probably 30 years for projects. I used to have a business where I used to sell, you know, craft items. I made handmade items. Did a lot of painting in my youth, and these are the boards that my daughter and I, she helped me in the business, used for the painting, and I just love the way they turned out. But they're really cool because they, you know, nothing sticks to the boards. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'm going to peel that off, and then when I'm finished, I will embellish with some beads or some handles, make some ribbon handles, or maybe some jute or something. Or I might leave it as it is. This one, I think I'm going to put something in coming out of the holes. I really like the holes. And again, as this dries, I'm going to be peeling that off of there so that we don't have any extra glue on the spoon. And that's it. Okay. Oh, it's just a fun little project to do. It's really perfect to do with Beltane. So, if you make spoons, I'd like you to give me any of these little spoon wands. I'd love to see them. If not, remember, I'm going to have some of these for sale in my shop if you're interested. And you'll see. Stay tuned, and you'll see where mine end up a little bit later as we get a little closer to Beltane. I'll show you what I end up doing with a lot of them in the future. Okay. Thanks for watching. I'm Rebecca. As always, I wish you blessings.